This is it. The moment of truth. We have come to the end. The final song is called The Tourist. And yeah, this album has been quite a trip, but I will continue talking about it after the reaction. Thank you for joining me. We have done the entire OK Computer album, and next up is a Jethro Tull album, I think. Yeah. Maybe I'll react to both the Jethro Tull album and the John Anderson solo album, and then kind of alternate between them. Who knows? We'll see. But anyway, let's get into this. Deathstroke 9 is ready to react. Let's go. And then, like, not releasing the tension, then building it up again. Last track, this one's called The Tourist, or The Tourist. This is the last one, right? Why'd it have to end? That's sad.
The box and no one else but me. Like it seemed ago.
A second ago, I felt really weird. Felt like I had chills. Like I was lighter than I actually was. So it's really cool. Wow. This is beautiful. Thank you for joining me, by the way.
That's when you see
Huge thanks to the internet for forcing me to listen to this album.
They ask me where the hell I'm going at 1,000 feet per second.
We're coming down from the album here. Slow down. that was fun and strange. Okay. Um, so we complete Radiohead's OK Computer album. Throughout this entire record, or LP, or whatever, um, a lot of it was pretty. Maybe the music itself wasn't positive. Something about it made me feel like it sounded happy. Maybe it was like the actual sound of the guitars and the specific instruments that they were using. I think they also, like I said at some point in this reaction, again, I'm not sure how I'm going to cut this up, so I'm not sure how you're viewing this, what your viewing experience has been, but I'm assuming somewhere along the way, you saw me say that the album musically keeps subverting expectations with the melodies and the chord progressions, and that they're pretty complex and change often. And that's coming from a person who knows almost nothing about music theory. Even I could, if I'm, concentrating hard enough, pick up on some of those intricacies of the record, which is something that this entire album has in abundance of. Lots and lots of subtle musicality to it. It's not as in your face as some of the other things that I am used to listening to. So searching for it and finding it like in the background as an instrument so an instrument in the front will be playing something positive sounding, right? Some major chords. And then there'll be this thing in the background. Maybe it's the bass, maybe it's like a piano, maybe it's a sound effect, whatever, that will suddenly, or maybe it's like vocals or synths that will come in and they'll sound happy and they'll be going along with it. Then like one half of it will dip down into like a minor, and it sets the whole thing off kilter a little bit, and also puts me a little bit at instills in me a sense of unease, almost creeping dread, really. So, Porcupine Tree, when I listen to them, especially the one album specifically I'm thinking of, the one with Anesthetize, and I think it's Fear of a Blank Planet, right? That's the name of the album? Yeah. That has so many moments on it where the music is super pretty on top, then underneath it, suddenly this ridiculously heavy guitar riff comes in that slowly overcomes the happy part and just is incredibly like depressing and soul crushing, but really cool. This is kind of like that, but toned down a little. I really liked it. It was like I said, quite an experience. I enjoyed it. All right. I hope that you enjoyed watching. And yeah, let's get to the lyrical dissection and the finale, I guess. It has been a long journey. It has been a fun journey. And now here we are at the conclusion with a very interesting song, actually, because this song actually manages to serve two purposes at once, at least to me. First, it has the climactic ending, right, that we would want for an album. But at the same time, it feels a bit like a downer. It feels like we're being eased off the album, even as the soundscape feels climactic. It's also slowly easing us out at the same time. And it's really interesting that they managed to put both of those things into one song. And then the ending, like guitar solo stuff, is freaking awesome. And we've come to the end of OK Computer. Let's take a look at the lyrics real quick. The Tourist is the final track on OK Computer, punctuating the album with soaring guitar solos and ethereal vocals. Yes, the vocal stuff is awesome. This track is about enjoying life. When a tourist visits a place, he usually feels like he has to do a lot to take in the sights, making him move at a fast pace. Hence Tom telling him to slow down and take it in. It feels like he's telling us to do that. And it's funny because Homesick Alien feels like the concept of that also ties into this. He's like a tourist on the earth, so right now he just wants to slow down and observe and see himself as an observer. It's interesting. OK Computer has a lot of very strange and interesting viewpoints. Anyway, let's continue. According to Q Magazine, this was written by Johnny Greenwood in response to seeing a group of tourists dash through a town in France. It was intended to be a song about the speed you live your life with. York later added lyrics that he'd written on holiday in Prague. The song, and thus the album, ends with a triangle prominently chiming. Tom York, in a Rolling Stone interview, said about the song, "Everything was about speed when I wrote those songs. I had a sense of looking out the window at things moving so fast I could barely see. One morning in Germany, I was feeling particularly paranoid because I hadn't slept well. I walked out to find something to eat and couldn't find anything, and this freaking dog was barking at me. I'm staring at the dog, and everyone else is carrying on. That's where the 'Hey man, slow down' comes from. It sounds like it's about technology and stuff, but this song is not." Okay. Here we go. "It barks at no one else but me, like it's seen a ghost." Oh wow, so there's the dog. "I guess it's seen the sparks a-flowing. No one else would know. Hey man, slow down, slow down, slow down. Idiot, slow down, slow down, slow down." This is the tourist dog's reaction when the tourist returns home. Because he travels so much, his own dog doesn't recognize him. Also, the excessive traveling has rendered him lethargic or almost dead, like a ghost. The ghost-like appearance might also be caused by an excessive desire to conform to social expectations. Dogs sometimes have an uncanny understanding of hidden emotional and physical states. In particular, the tourist is stressed and harried because he is rushing to efficiently fulfill his obligations. He feels like a robot, going haywire and breaking down. Furthermore, no one knows he is not working properly because they are also malfunctioning robots as they rush around their lives. There have been several suggestions for who the tourist begs to stop scrambling through life. Could be a single person, or the whole world. Perhaps it's the impatient natives of the city the tourist is visiting. Could even be a reflexive advice given in third person. That's what I think it is. He's talking to himself. The song thematically crescendos as this plea becomes more and more desperate. The chime, the last sound we hear, is the product of drummer Phil Selway hitting a triangle. We have several interpretations of the chime. The chime is ironic, recalling the buzz of some modern appliance like a microwave or a toaster. It brings a chilling closure to the album. The chime represents society finally realizing the error of its ways. People are heeding the tourist's advice and beginning to slow down. As Tom said himself, the band always tries to throw in a dash of optimism in even their bleakest songs. The chime is representative of a happier ending, in which the chime represents the no smoking sign turning on, similar to the ending of Cameron Crowe's Say Anything. At the end of Say Anything, Lloyd reminds Diane, who is afraid of flying, that most accidents occur in the first 5 minutes, so the no smoking chime means everything will likely be fine. The chime represents the crashing of the car that is the subject of Airbag, the first song on the album. The airbag saves his life, and he continues his life through the album until he gets to the tourist again. Once again has that epiphany of slow down. And then the crash as an inciting incident to the album is so powerful, such a powerful choice by the band, because it's a life or death situation that made him reevaluate the world around him and become a little bit more cynical about it, which is what's going on throughout the entire album. So similar to a movie, a lot of times you have a first act, right? And in the first act, a lot of times they'll introduce the characters. Sorry about that beep. I should probably mute that. They'll introduce the characters to you. And at some point, there will be an inciting incident that sets up the plot of the most of the movie, or whatever the story is. The inciting incident here would be the car crash, because it's what puts everything into motion for the rest of the album. Sometimes I get overcharged. That's when you see sparks. They ask me where the hell I'm going at 1,000 feet per second. The narrator of the song becomes overwhelmed by anxiety and suffers an explosive fit, compared to when an electronic device gets overcharged. It is in these states of overstimulation that synesthesia completely takes over, and at times it can sustain mania and even feel like pure ecstasy. Tom has said that he's experienced strong bouts of this before. People see this guy moving quickly and wonder what he's achieved by doing this. The truth is that the tourist is moving too fast to enjoy what he's experiencing, and thus he needs to slow down and take everything in. The point of this song can be seen as saying that we are all tourists on Earth to some degree, and rather than rush through life at 1,000 feet per second, we should take time to appreciate everything. The Tourist is an optimistic closer to the album in that it offers a solution for all the issues and themes presented throughout OK Computer. The speed of sound is actually 1,116 feet per second. If the narrator was traveling at 1,000 feet per second, he would be able to see sound, so to speak, by virtue of his relative velocity. This ties into the previous line. Sometimes I get overcharged, and that's when you see sparks. You get the guitar solo in the chorus a couple of times, and the chorus just gets more and more desperate as he's crying out to the listener to slow down and enjoy your life. Which, at the end, OK Computer is extremely cynical. But at the same time, it ends with this epiphany of, you are a tourist here, so just slow down and enjoy what good there is. Because if you're constantly looking for the negative, then what? Then you're not going to be doing very well. You're going to be nothing more than a paranoid android. But at the same time, it's impossible to ignore the negative, in my opinion. Because you can't just ignore bad things that are happening. You have to address them and fix problems, not just, pretend they don't exist. But, yeah, the album goes over so many different themes. It's crazy. That was Radiohead OK Computer. I loved it. Let's take a look at the Wikipedia page for it really fast so that we can see how it did on the charts, what some of the reviews were. Let's see. It is the third studio album by Radiohead. Their abstract lyrics, densely layered sound, and eclectic influences laid the groundwork for their later, more experimental work. The album depicts a world fraught with rampant consumerism, social alienation, emotional isolation, and political malaise. Whatever. In this capacity, OK Computer has been said to have been a prescient insight into the mood of 21st century life. The band used unconventional production techniques, including natural reverberation through recording on a staircase and no audio separation. Strings were recorded at Abbey Road Studios in London. Guitarist Ed O'Brien estimated 80% of the album was recorded live. Despite lowered sales estimates by EMI, who deemed the record uncommercial and difficult to market, OK Computer actually reached number 1 on the UK Albums Chart and debuted at number 21 on the Billboard 200. Radiohead's highest album entry in the US charts at the time, soon earned 5 times platinum and double platinum certification by the BPI and RIAA, respectively. The songs Paranoid Android, Karma Police, Lucky, and No Surprises were released as singles. The album expanded Radiohead's international popularity and has sold 2.8 million units worldwide, at least. A remastered version with additional tracks, OK Not OK, 1997-2017, was released in 2017, marking the album's 20th anniversary. In 2019, in response to an internet leak, Radiohead released mini discs Hacked, comprising over 16 hours of demos, rehearsals, live performances, and other material related to OK Computer. It received critical acclaim and has been cited by listeners, critics, and musicians as one of the greatest albums of all time. It was nominated for the Album of the Year and won Best Alternative Music Album at the 98 Grammy Awards. It was also nominated for Best British Album at the 98 Brit Awards. The album initiated a stylistic shift in British rock away from Britpop towards melancholic, atmospheric alternative rock that became more prevalent in the next decade. Incredibly influential album, yes. In 2014, it was included by the Library of Congress in the National Recording Registry as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Let's find the reception. The lyrics And let's look at that first. The lyrics written by York are more abstract compared to his personal emotional lyrics for the Bends. Critic Alex Ross says that the lyrics seemed a mixture of overheard conversations, techno-speak, and fragments of a harsh diary, with images of riot police at political rallies, anguished lives in tidy suburbs, yuppies freaking out, sympathetic aliens gliding overhead. Reoccurring themes include transport, technology, insanity, death, modern British life, globalization, and anti-capitalism. York said, on this album, the outside world became all there was. I'm just taking Polaroids of all these things that are moving around me too fast. This album's beautiful. He told Q, it was like there's a secret camera in the room, and it's watching the character who walks in. A different character for each song. The camera's not quite me. It's neutral. Hi, kitty. It's neutral, emotionless, but not emotionless at all. In fact, the very opposite. Okay? He drew inspiration from books, including Noam Chomsky's political writing. Wow, that's interesting. I was just talking about that. Huh. The songs OK Computer do not have a coherent narrative. The album's lyrics are generally considered abstract. Nonetheless, many musical critics, journalists, and scholars consider the album to be a concept album or song cycle, or have analyzed it as a concept album, noting its strong thematic cohesion, aesthetic unity, and structural logic of the song sequencing. Yeah, it's very intelligently put together. Although the songs share common themes, Radiohead have said that they do not consider OK Computer a concept album. It did not intend to link the songs through a narrative or unifying concept while it was being written. Johnny Greenwood said, I think one album title and one computer voice do not make a concept album. That's a bit of a red herring. Just because the song's called OK Computer does not mean that because there's a computer voice that the whole album's a concept album. I think the critics and people are more talking about the aesthetic feel of the album. I don't know, a concept album, to me, when someone goes out to make a concept album, it seems like it takes more, and it's you need to be cohesive. You need to have, a lot of times, a storyline or a plot even going on within the music itself. And that seems harder to do. So, like, if I made an album of music and I didn't intend for it to be a concept album, and a bunch of, critics called it one, I'd probably accept that. I'm not sure, though. Anyway, the band did intend the album to be heard as a whole and spent 2 weeks ordering the track list. O'Brien said the context of each song is really important. It's not a concept album, but there is continuity there. Then we have the artwork. The artwork is a computer-generated collage of images and texts created by York. Wow. That's really cool. I like that. And then we have the critical reception. OK Computer was almost uniformly praised on its release. Critics generally described it as a landmark release of far-reaching impact and importance, but noted that its experimentalism made it a challenging listen. According to Tim Footman, not since 1967, with the release of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, had so many major critics agreed immediately, not only on an album's merits, but on its long-term significance and its ability to encapsulate a particular point in history. In the English press, the album generated favorable reviews in NME, Melody Maker, The Guardian, and Q. Nick Kent wrote in Mojo that others may end up selling more, but in 20 years' time, I'm betting that the album OK Computer will be seen as the key record of 1997, and the one to take rock forward instead of artfully revamping images and strong structures from an earlier era. John Harris wrote in Select, every word sounds achingly sincere, every note spewed from the heart, and yet it roots itself firmly in a world of steel, glass, random access memory, and prickly-skinned paranoia. The album was well received in North America by everybody, Rolling Stone, LA Times, Pitchfork, Daily Herald. They all published positive reviews. In The New Yorker, Alex Ross praised the progressiveness and contrasted Radiohead's risk-taking with the musically conservative dad rock of their contemporaries, Oasis. Interesting. Maybe their previous albums could be compared to Oasis, Like, a lot of people told me that everything that came before this was a lot more Britpop feeling. Songs like Creep, they were a little bit darker, but they were still like warmer and they weren't as experimental and cold feeling. So maybe, but this album I would never compare it to the few Oasis songs that I know. Ross wrote that throughout the album, contrasts of mood and style are extreme. This band has pulled off one of the great art pop balancing acts in the history of rock. Thereafter, Ryan of Pitchfork lauded the record's emotional appeal, stating that the album is brimming with genuine emotion, which is interesting since the album is about paranoia and being an android almost. Beautiful and complex imagery and music, and lyrics that are at once passive and also fire breathing. It's an album filled with contradictions. Reviews for Entertainment Weekly, the Chicago Tribune, and Time ranged from mixed to containing qualified praise. The Village Voice said Radiohead immersed York's vocals in enough electronic distinction to feed Coal Town for a month and to compensate for how soulless the songs are, resulting in arid art rock. Okay. There's always somebody, you know. And of course, the critics always have opinions and stuff. I've actually seen multiple comments already on The Voice. A lot of people don't really like Tom York's voice, but I don't know. You want everyone to sound exactly the same? Like, I don't know. I like his voice. In an otherwise positive review, Andy Gill wrote for The Independent, for all its ambition and determination to break new ground, OK Computer is not finally as impressive as The Bends, which covered much of the same sort of emotional knots but with better tunes. It is easy to be impressed by, but ultimately hard to love. An album that luxuriates readily in its own despondency. Interesting. Well, OK Computer was nominated for Grammy Awards as Album of the Year and Best Alternative Music Album at the 40th Annual Grammy Awards in 1998, winning the latter. It won a bunch of stuff. Praise for the album overwhelmed the band. Greenwood felt the praise was exaggerated because the Bends had been under-reviewed and under-received. They rejected the links to progressive rock and art rock, despite frequent comparisons made to Dark Side of the Moon. They rejected comparisons to Dark Side of the Moon. Okay. York said, "We write pop songs. There was no intention of it being art. It's a reflection of all the disparate things we were listening to when recording it." He was nevertheless pleased that listeners identified with the album's influences. What really blew my head off was the fact that people got all the things, all the textures and the sounds and the atmospheres we were trying to create. There was a lot of retrospective appraisal where it has been frequently put in professional lists of the greatest albums of all time. Yeah. Let's see. Let's continue. Talks about the commentary, the political commentary of the album, how much it has influenced music since, and the re-releases. And that, my friends, is the end of our journey through Radiohead's OK Computer album. One of the coolest albums I've ever listened to. Thank you so much to the people who requested this. And yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I'm going to go back to the Bends, since a lot of people have requested that, or if I'm going to go forward to Kid A, where a lot of people say that's one of their even more experimental than this album is, and is totally like off the rails in what they were trying to do, and how most albums after that they kept kind of reinventing themselves and pushing the envelope or expanding their boundaries in what they were doing. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll react to some like singles from the Bends and see if I like a single from both Kid A and the Bends and see if I like them and then choose from there. I don't know, but that'll be a while yet to go before we get there. I've got lots of other stuff that I need to do. So thank you so much for joining me. This has been fun. If you're new to the channel, consider joining us. We shall be continuing through lots of different great music, and I will see you guys soon. Deathstroke 9 out.